All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. And remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, got a very special guest for y'all. All the way from LA, West Coast. Jefflyn, Dangerfield is in the house.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
You are most...
Thank you.
Look, you are welcome. Man, we gonna treat you like family. So, man, look here. We finna just have ourselves a good old time. Because let me tell y'all a little bit about Miss Dangerfield over here. You know, for those of y'all that don't really know what's going on. Man, retirement strategist, okay? And financial advisor. So, she got some answers if you all have the questions. But you gotta have the questions in order to get the answers, all right? But we're gonna talk about that in a minute, but we're gonna talk about her being a author.
Okay, author, yes.
Yeah, that's you, okay. Yes. All right. The Retirement Trilogy. Can you tell us a little about this?
Trilogy. Oh, it is an awesome work that I'm getting great feedback from. It is simple, it is practical, it is hands-on, and like you were saying, it answers a lot of the questions that people have when they're getting ready to go into that phase of retirement. But it doesn't give you the verbiage that you can't understand, that you're going to spend 5, 10, 15 weeks trying to figure out what one word meant and all of that. No, it's very simple, very practical, and very relatable. We go through various scenarios, examples, talk about various types of occupations, as well as nonprofit organizations, as well as entertainment, different things that you can do in regards to preparing for your retirement needs. So yeah, it's a great book. Not to toot my own horn, but people have been telling me, so I'm believing what they're saying.
Okay, well, look, let me just say, retirement looks totally different now than what it used to be.
Yeah. It does.
And, just some of the things that we were talking about before the interview happened, there's a lot of, people retiring early, especially now that we have like certain mandates in order. There's the, COVID, vaccines, what have you. People have to make important executive decisions. And
yes, they do.
Let me just ask, in your view, how has the whole concept of retirement changed, over the past couple of years?
Well, it has dramatically changed. I know when COVID first hit, a lot of private sector companies were offering buyout packages of what they call golden parachutes. They were giving bonuses for people to retire early, because they knew they would have to replenish their workforce. But because profits were down, they were offering bonuses to maybe their higher end employees or longevity employees. So when they did restaff or rebuild, their outflow as far as capital would not be as much. So some people were on that path, and they got, if you get a good sized bonus, depending on what it is, and if you prepared correctly, you may be able to go out a little bit earlier than you thought that you would, because it takes up the slack. However, a lot of people, and more people fall into this category, they were off work without benefit or without pay or without supplement, and did not know where their next quote unquote job would be coming from. They had to start picking up other means of income to help supplement them, or unemployment or stimulus or whatever you want to call it, because it really hit hard in that regard. And then the third sector of people that were able maybe to work remotely because they still had positions, but their employer allowed them to work at home, They maintain positions, but a lot of the things that they were accustomed to, even in regards to retirement, some maybe had to take lesser positions to maintain their positions. Some maybe had to cut their hours to maintain their positions. Some had to take over child care and home care for elderly adults or things of that nature, which cut into their employment time. So they would have had to downsize the number of hours that they were working. A lot of things happen during this transition, and especially when you're talking about females in regards to this, because there's a disparity or there's a difference in regards to what women are paid and what men are paid, especially if they begin to have to take some of these things and take off and have less hours. It will drastically or could drastically affect what you're earning at retirement, because you don't have as much going into your retirement pot, nor do you have, if you're fortunate enough to have Social Security or the benefit of Social Security, because everybody does not have that. But if you're fortunate enough for that, then it may impact how many more hours or how much you get at Social Security, because now you've cut down on your quarters. And that's going to affect how much money you get when you get ready to retire. So you may have to work longer, or you may have to find another job. And the bigger picture of this is a lot of employers stopped or changed their retirement benefits or benefit plans because they couldn't afford to pay into them, because they weren't getting the capital. And see, the sad part about a consumer-driven economy like we have is when people stop spending money, everything is affected. Everything is affected. When businesses stop, when, we think it's just something to do that, quote unquote, using this as a small example, I'll just drive to McDonald's and get Happy Meal and the kids will be cool, and I can take care of doing what I have to do or whatever the case may be. Well, when McDonald's is not open and you have no food because you haven't been to the grocery store, your kids are still hungry. Now what you gonna do? Because you can't call, and now if you should decide, well, I'll just call Uber Eats or somebody like that, and I'll have them pick up the slack. But they're not open. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not like they're limited being open. They're not open. They're on quarantine too, because everybody in their house or everybody that is employed there has subject to the same virus that you have. And that's not, you can consider it as an essential opportunity. But if 15 to 30% of your workforce is out with COVID, how are you going to function? How does your business operate? So everybody's bottom line is affected, and potentially, if your bottom line is affected, your retirement is affected because you don't have as much resource to go into that pot. Yeah, very challenging, very challenging. And then how do you rebound? And right now, our government has offered some subsidies to help to try to rebound, to help to try stimulate, but they can't figure out how to keep stuff open. One day it's open, next day it's closed. And, mask and, like you said, shots and no shots and making this mandatory, making that mandatory, and people rebelling, and it's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's just a big challenge right now.
Well,
that makes it more important for the individual to take it upon themselves to plan and structure what they're going to do, because the economy should not dictate your lifestyle.
Hmm.
Just shouldn't do it.
Well, I'm gonna take it a step further. Now, you mentioned social security. Now, I just read an article. I want to say it was in the USA Today a couple of days ago, where they were talking about social security possibly maxing out in the next maybe 20 to 30 years because of COVID and because of all these high payouts that the government has had to like make or what have you. They've like, spent, and they've like, taken a lot of that money and, spreaded it all around. And, I know we talked about this before where like when you just have the government printing money, and they're just printing it. Like they're just running it out here for you all. The value of that dollar loses, constantly, time after time.
Yeah.
And then, like prices are going up.
Here we go. Well, let's talk about what you just said as far as that's concerned. When it comes to Social Security, as we all know, they're extending the age for full benefit of Social Security anyway. So where it once was 62, then 65, then 67, now it's 70 that they're pushing for, okay, for you to get your highest paid benefit. You can still start getting something at age 62, but it's not as much as you would get if you waited until you were 67, or quote unquote, they're trying to get it to be 70 years old. And they also, it's been stated that if they don't revamp the Social Security program, which Medicare falls under between 2034 and 2037. Now, you said how many years? That's less than 20 years away, people. Let's get to it. Let's get to the real of that. Because if they don't do something to restructure all of that stuff, then you may not get Social Security at all, or your Social Security benefit will be reduced. So you can't count on Social Security to be your backup like you once could. Now, that's if you're even entitled to get Social Security. Because as you know, some employers opted out of paying into Social Security and start paying into their own programs. And that's why Social Security is in the mess that it's in now. Because everybody used to pay into Social Security. Now you don't. If you are, I'll use in California as an example. If you work for LAUSD, which is Los Angeles School District, the largest or the second largest school district that there is, if you work for them, you don't pay into Social Security. If you work for the county of Los Angeles, you don't pay into Social Security. Federal employees pay into Social Security, but local government has opted out of paying it, or some local governments, I should say, has opted out of paying into Social Security. So the only way you potentially could get a Social Security benefit is if you had another employer or a part-time job that paid into Social Security. But they get you again because based on how much you generate from your primary income, if it's more than their threshold, they're not going to pay you Social Security anyway. So, once again, the importance of planning for how you're going to live in this crazy society that we're in right now is so, so important. And everybody's talking about what you don't have now. Well, the whole point about it is you better find a way to plan for later, because it doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon.
No.
And if you're looking to retire, most people, when they think about retirement, they think about 65, between 60 and 65. That's the age that most people think about it. So around some people 45, 50, That's when people start thinking about it. Well, I don't have as many years as I used to. Let me start thinking about what I'm going to do for my retirement. As you can see, with all the craziness that's going on now, the sooner you can start planning for your retirement, the better it is for you. I would recommend anybody, I don't even care if it's 2 days a week at, like I said, at McDonald's or fast food, whatever. If you can put away $25 a week, however much you get paid, you start doing that when you get your first job. Don't even think about it. Because by the time you get ready to retire from your first job or second job or whatever it is, by the time you get there, Mr. 18 to 25, by the time you get ready to your 65, if that's how long you're going to work, you're going to have a hard way to go. You need to start day one. Day one.
Look, but now we talked about it a little bit, earlier. We talked about the effects of COVID and its effects on retirement. But, right before the interview started, we talked a little bit about how now the rules are a little bit different. And, especially in education, I can definitely speak for education now, how the rules have made it totally different. And a lot of people, man, are forced to leave because they're not going to adhere to certain mandates, requiring them to get vaccinated or what have you. So as we said before, there's a lot of bus drivers, a lot of these drivers have quit, in like the last 2-3 weeks, your sub pool for teachers has dwindled immensely, and there's a teacher shortage. Okay, so when you couple all these things, and as you said before, even in other industries as well, mandates, certain COVID mandates make it hard for people to go back in and resume their way of life. Like in your opinion, what's the long-term effect of all these things, when it comes to them trying to
you have to work longer, where, and I hate to say this, some people have been planning all their life to retire at 55, and these are the people that I really feel bad for, because they've been planning all their life to retire at 55. They've been putting extra money away to make sure that they could do it. COVID hit. Nobody knew that it was coming, and everything else. So just imagine. It's been said that COVID has put us back 10 years. So if you were looking to retire at 55 and COVID put you back 10 years, that means that's 65 for you. Maybe 60. But you have to work longer. That's the only way that you're going to make up the money that was lost or the time that was lost during this period. And even though we're coming out of COVID, we are still in COVID. Now, let's be realistic. COVID is not the first pandemic that our world has ever embraced.
True.
But for most of the people that we know, this is the first time in our lifetime that we've had to embrace something like this. So, people in today's society have not had to cope with or understand coping with a quote unquote, because you can call it a recession, you can call it a depression, you can call it a mini setback, but American society is used to just being abundant. And the truth of it is, we are still one of the most lucrative countries out there. But the challenge that we have that third world countries don't have in this regard is we're used to having. Even when we look at our what we call poverty line, we're still used to having. whether it's government supplement, whatever that is, whether it's our employment income, whether it's our business that we own, we're used to having. What COVID did was open our eyes to the fact that, okay, you don't have it. And there's nothing you can do about it. For 18 months before, they got some kind of handle on this thing, a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, and they could have thrived and maybe would have thrived and they may rebuild, but a lot of them lost their businesses because we had never experienced anything like this before. We're on the bounce back system. Let's just go to whatever doctor or whatever facility we can go to. We get whatever that we need, and we off to work. Well, no, there is no work. Everything is shut down. Everything is shut down. Hospitals open, yeah, it has to be because people are dying.
Yeah.
Grocery stores open, yeah, people have to eat, whatever the essential workers were coined as being. But the reality is a lot of people are still trying to figure that part out. They're still trying to figure out, how am I going to come back to this? And I don't know, realistically, it doesn't matter how much money they throw at it. Like you said, how much money they print to try to revive what it is that needs to happen. The reality is the damage for a lot of people have been done. And if they don't rebuild, if they don't start something new, because even the businesses that were operating 2 years ago, a lot of them can't operate in today's society. They just can't make it because we're in a whole different marketplace. Where you had advertising companies that people could come out and you could sell them ads or whatever. Now it's saturated over social media. That's your benefit. So a lot of that pound pavement hit the street sales force, that's a done deal. That's not coming back. So if you were a salesperson and that's all you knew, you better learn a trade because it's not coming back the same way. And nobody planned for that. It's the same way with retirement. Those changes have caused changes in the mindset of people when planning for retirement because people are fearful. They're stunned. They don't know what to do. As opposed to just talking it out. It doesn't even matter if you start today. You should have started yesterday, but it doesn't matter if you don't start today. If your mind is still crippled from 2 years ago and you're frozen, you're not going to make a move. So instead of having a year and a half to build up, now until you can get your mindset back where you feel confident enough to embrace what's going on, you may have 3 to 5 years to build up now. Yeah. That's why it's been posted. We got 10 years. I'm going to wait to see what happens. Don't wait to see what happens. Don't wait to see what happens. Now is the time to react. It's like business people say often, especially people who are heavily engaged in the market. When the market is down, that's the time to invest in the market because you get stock for you can purchase stock for a lot less than you could have purchased it when the market was up, when it was stronger. But the reality is most often when the market is down, the people who should be investing in the market, they don't have the money to do it. And they're in survival mode. You got to click out of that. You got to change that as far as a whole is concerned. When we talk about planning for retirement, survival mode is not the issue. What you're looking to survive for is the 20 years that still has to come, because you're looking at today, you still have to live, especially if you have family and you have children that you're raising. You still have to live. It's not just about beans and the rice that's on the table today. It's about the beans and the rice that's going to be on your table after they get grown, because they still going to live.
So, look, let me just say this. You hit on a lot, but I'm going to key in on a little section right here. Now, we just said it when we were talking about small businesses, how some of these small businesses, they're not even coping to like operate now because you're just not, look, that last 18 months, 2 years, as you said, threw everybody back 10 years. And the gap is short now to prepare for what's to come, like the end. And if you're like a conservative type of person, not used to taking chances or what have you, you may be forced to take some, you're going to have to step out of that comfort zone, and you're really going to have to ramp it up. Yeah. And on the opposite side of that, if you're a person who you've been throwing, well, I'm not going to say caution to the wind, but you're used to taking certain risks, now you got to chop that down because, like a lot of things you're doing, you may not be able to do now. A lot of those risks you were able to take maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, you can't take a lot of those risks now because of the economy, how things are. And, we just really got to think about how we're going to live now.
Yeah, we call that risk tolerance. That's the terminology that's used, risk tolerance. Are you a conservative, or are you moderate risk taker, or do you have a high risk tolerance? That's how we say it. Now, regardless of what your risk tolerance is, whether it's like you said, whether it's lower or whether it's higher, the game has changed. Because even some of those things that you were risking, like you just said, you were risking your money on, your business is not going to operate exactly the same as it did 2 years ago. It can't. Because even though you're using restaurants as a prime example, they closed restaurants down. So they developed what we call a workaround. If you got a patio or some form of outside opening, you can have so many folks. And if you have a drive-through, they can drive through. But if 30% of your business was on dining, in-person dining, you immediately took a 30% hit to your business. And if it was more than that, especially if you're a small mom and pop, you don't have a drive-through. You may not even have a patio. Okay? So that being the case, if your traffic was based on how many people come into your location every day, whether they sit down and eat or not. Okay. At first, it was 100% you done. There was no takeout. There was no drive-through. There was none of that. Then it expanded. Okay, you can do takeout only. Or you can do drive-through only. Well, I don't have a drive-through. And my business plan, which a lot of mom and pop still don't have, they had that first 3 years to get that loan, to get that thing started. But we've been up and running now, but we don't have that 10-year plan, or we don't have that 5-year plan where we needed to have some, what we call contingency money, some money laying around just in case something happened, if the refrigerator go out or whatever, we don't have that plan. So there is no contingency and there is no customer. How are you going to sell your business? Now, it's been more than 10 years, and people who have children know this. It's like, okay, we've been on these computers forever. True. But most mom and pops, even though they may have a credit card thing that they take credit cards with, the credit card machine, they weren't doing any advertising for their business. They weren't. They didn't have to. It was word of mouth. It was mom and pop. Oh, they got good tacos over there. Go over there. Yep. They didn't have to. But now they're not over there. So how do you get the word out to let people know that I'm open again? Or how do you get the word out? Because your suppliers, they're still bringing food to some of these places at the beginning of this thing, at least for the first 90 days of this thing, they were still getting food supplies, because they had already paid for that stuff. So now what do? Yeah, you're making meals for the homeless because you can't sell nothing. And it's good charitable. You might be able to write some of it off, but you have no income coming into your household.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. You don't have the income coming in. Mm-hmm.
So here we go. We're talking about retirement now. This could happen various ways at any given point in your adult working career. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. You can be laid off. You may have been used to 2 incomes and now someone in your household is no longer working. And they're trying to get a job. Somebody may have gotten sick. You may have had to take in, like I said, either an elderly adult or a child or something like that. Mm-hmm. So at any given point in your life, these things could happen. Mm-hmm. What is your strategic plan to overcome these kinds of challenges? And that is the best thing that COVID could have done for anybody. It gave a lot of people a wake-up call. It's like, oh, I got to get this together. I got to get these plans on point, because we are going to come out of this eventually. That's, we're going to do it. But the reality is something else may happen. And that's just true. It may. It may not be a pandemic, and it may not even be in some of our lifetimes, but something else is going to happen.
Well, look, let me just say, even on that tip alone, like the Sprouts, the Whole Foods, the Trader Joe's and things of that nature, like, I know I've just been, just on a personal level, I've been looking more into gardening,
absolutely.
My own, being a little bit more holistic. And even I'm gonna take it even further. Like, I heard you say about grandma learning how to hem, some pants or sew some pants and things of that nature. We have this thing now called sustainable goods, or what have you, taking, what you have from all these other parts and making something whole. Like, it's pretty much like a quilt, you're taking all these fabrics and you're making this one sheet or what have you. But that's pretty much where we are right now. And if you can't grasp that concept and you keep trying to live the lifestyle that you've been living or you're used to living, where, hey, I can just go out and buy this. I can go out and buy that. I can go out and buy this. Well, let's just take a look at, these like superstores, like the Macy's and, the Marshalls and all these other places, when you walk into some of these places, you're not going to see a lot of customer service,
And here you go. Here you go. Not only is customer service going to be eliminated, once again, as I said, we're wiser yet weaker when it comes to technology. Technology is an amazing gift, but when convenience makes you lazy, which it is embarking upon us, which it is doing that, people are having to get back to gardening because, okay, here we go. We way off topic, but that's okay. We have to get back to gardening because, organic. The trend was coming to our society, and it has been coming for a few years now. Get rid of all these processed foods and all this stuff that's in your foods and all this other kind of stuff, and all that's great. Go back to natural, go back to organically grown, where the soil is not full of pesticides and antibiotics and all that other kind of stuff. So that's wonderful. Well, what happens when your organically grown foods has nowhere to go because there is no consumer to purchase them.
Mm.
So now what do you eat?
Hmm.
Okay, so here's the other thing. Like you said, people are getting into gardening. Well, there's been such a great demand for certain products, certain seeds to plant, like onions and tomatoes and, things that you can grow in a pot at your house as opposed to having a whole field that you have to sow,
Right.
things like that. But you can eat and be healthy. Those things you can do. There's been such a demand on those kinds of seeds, they can't fulfill it.
Mm.
Or if they do fulfill it, now where you were paying 25 cents for a bag of seeds, and that may have been back in the day, but where
Yeah.
you was paying 25 cents for a bag of seeds, you're now paying $5 for that same bag of seeds.
Incredible.
Okay? Now, mind you, that's all good. And if you got a private shopper, I mean, if you're that affluent where you have a private shopper, they can do that. Or if your private shopper is called Prime on Amazon, you can do that. You just order your stuff and it comes to you, and all that's great.
Yeah.
No issues. But the reality is somebody still has to do work. Now we're talking about retirement. This is how this all fits in or ties into what we're talking about. As far as health is concerned, when you look at retirement or when you develop a retirement strategy, you want a holistic view of that. You want a health plan as well as a financial plan. It's not just about how much money you're going to have, because if you come home and you got all this money but your health is whack, you're going to spend your money either on health care or you're going to give it away to somebody else because you're not going to be able to use it. It's not going to benefit you. So you need a health plan. So when we talk about retirement and we talk about developing retirement strategies, we look at a holistic view. We talk to nutritionists, we talk to psychologists, as well as psychiatrists to help give a mental scope in regards to what people are thinking. Because, most people think when they say retirement, it's like, okay, I'm just not going to be working anymore. But what does that mean you're going to be doing? Are you just going to be sitting in front of the TV on the couch and getting big as the couch and with no activity and your joints is messing up and you losing your brain activity and all of that? So there's a preparation process. You have to have an activity plan attached to your retirement plan. What are you going to do? Are you going to volunteer? Are you going to do church work? Are you going to travel the rest of your life? What are you going to do? Is your, where you were using LAUSD again as teachers, because I work with a lot of teachers, in schools, you got stairs. So you up and down the stairs, back and forth your classroom. You got to get to the playground with the kids if you in, the lower grades or whatever. So you got some physical activity going on. Well, as soon as you retire from that job, all that stuff that you were doing that was just a natural part of your day is now gone. So do you have that exercise program that's going to keep you walking up and down those stairs? And maybe you said, I'm tired of walking up and down these stairs. That's why I quit. Okay, but your body is saying to you, you may be tired of walking up and down the stairs, but you got to move me. My body has to move. If you don't move, now all these joints is stiff. And that's why it's a lot of people within 5 to 7 years of their retirement, you wouldn't know who they were because there's no activity. There's no engagement, even if it's at a childhood level. You're not making lesson plans anymore. So what are you doing with your brain? You're not engaging with social activity and potentially conflict on the yard. So what are you doing for socialization? How are you handling that part of your process? That's as much as part of retirement as how much money you're going to have when you get there. And I can almost guarantee you 2/3 to 3/4 of people who retire don't have that in mind. All they doing is to go home and I'm just done with my job. I'm not going to do it. Well, what are you going to do?
You know what? That is Once again, ladies and gentlemen, she's pow. Okay, like look, but that is something, very key, because we don't equate a lot of times retirement and health, because as you said, hey, I retired from my job, I'm done, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. Well, yeah, even though you may not have liked the job, or even if you did like the job, but what you were doing, these last like 20 to 30 years, you're not doing that anymore. And you just stopped. It wasn't a gradual decline where, okay, I may not be doing the stairs as much because because of, construction or whatever,
Right.
but I'm still walking the hall and I'm still going outside to be active. No, you have stopped completely. And as you said, joints, arthritis, muscles, posture, scoliosis, what have you, all these things start to like take into play. And
Dementia, Alzheimer's.
Oh God. Yeah.
All of that, because see, the other part of that is people don't recognize how much we engage, and we don't necessarily engage all of the mind power that we should, I would think.
True.
My personal opinion. But for the limited that we do use and that we engage actively, like I said, especially if you're in education profession, you're always researching something. You're always putting something together to help someone else grow or to learn. If you come out of that field, even though it's been a natural part of you, if you are not stimulating that part of you, then it will die. It's like anything else. If you don't feed it, it'll die. And then you wonder why 5-10 years down the road, I can't remember nothing. No, you can't, because you ain't doing nothing to make your memory work. But here we go. That's a whole nother thing. Anyway, that is a part of retirement. That is a part of retirement strategy and retirement planning. And any good planner that you have, any good strategists that you have, they're going to talk about an element of that. And they're going to be able to refer you, if you're not looking at that, they're going to be able to refer you to people that can help you with whatever your needs are. Whether it's an exercise class, whether it's, whatever it is, just to keep you physically as well as mentally, as well as financially on track. Now, does that mean that you have to do everything that you used to do? No. Does that mean that you have to do anything if you don't want to? No. But a good planner is going to engage you in all of those topics. They're going to talk to you about all of that, because all of it's important. And you get to prioritize what's most important to you, because it's your plan.
Whew. Look, see, this is why I love to talk to you, because you put it in perspective. Sure, we may go to the left or right a little bit, but I feel it's still within the scope of these things, because there are intricate details of those situations that we really don't take into consideration until it's time to take those things into consideration, and
now let's
go ahead, come on.
I'm sorry. Let's talk about, because we were talking about the medical benefit of this, or the potential of the medical benefit of this.
Yes.
As you age, as you get older in retirement, of course, there's going to be a necessity, or potentially a necessity, to make sure that you're on top of your physicals and doctor's appointments and all of these things. There is also the potential, just by aging, if you have not kept yourself up along the way, there's potential for different health conditions or whatever that can be managed or maintained, but they happen just due to aging. It's nothing other than getting older. Well, normally, when it comes to benefits, as far as retirement is concerned, depending on what employer you have, you may get some source of subsidy as a medical benefit in your package when you sign your contract. A lot of contracts now are not offering medical benefit. So when you get ready to retire, until you're currently 65, because that's the age that's allotted now, until you're 65, you cannot secure any additional supplement from Medicare or Medi-Cal or whatever it is that the government will give you to help pay for your medical. Now, they're only going to pay maximum 80% of that no matter what you get. And you're not going to get that 80% until you're 65 years old. So either you're going to have to be healthy, really healthy, or you're going to have a provision for your health care. Most people today who have employers that offer a medical plan, well, they're taking that out of my check. I don't even see it before I get it. Okay. When you retire, they're not going to be taking that out of your check.
Right.
Are you putting away or planning for paying for what they're not going to do anymore? Most people don't think about it until they retire. And then when they retire, because unlike other kinds of insurance, healthcare insurance is based on your age. But this is normally how it works. For men, it's a little bit less than women because they don't have to go to the doctor as often. Women generally have more health conditions, not necessarily illnesses, but they have to go to the doctor for more things than men do. Okay? So healthcare costs for women is going to be more than it is for men. And at retirement, that doesn't change. So, are you planning for that? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. Because I know, back in the day before I realized that I was really living here on this earth, in this body, I thought I was going to live forever. So it's like, nothing's going to hurt me. I ain't thinking about that. Whatever they take out of my check is cool. I got a plan. I'm good. Well,
yeah.
Life happens. Experience comes along, and we realize that that's not the case. So if you don't take care of it, it's not going to be taken care of. Something else to put in your retirement plan. Something else to plan for. And, I know I can hear somebody in the back saying, we got all this stuff to plan for. We can't pay for today. You're adding up. It's like, no. I'm giving you the big picture.
Right.
I'm giving you the big picture. And the better picture is to sit down with somebody who can take that big picture and make it palatable for you. There may be a lot of avenues that need to be covered, but it doesn't have to cost what you think in your mind that it may cost. It just takes getting started. You got a plan. That's what a plan is for. That's why I call myself a strategist, because there are different strategies you can take to make all of this successful without it hurting you to the point of you thinking it's bleeding you dry, because it's not. It's just a plan. And if you start early enough, like I said, the younger you start, the less you have to do. It's when you get into those gray areas, when it's less than 15 years to plan, then yeah, you gonna pay. It's no way around it, because you waited so late to do it. If you want it to be efficient, because it still has to last you until you pass away. If you don't start, you plan on retiring at 65 or 60, you don't start till you're 50, and you want your money to last until you're 90, because the average person now is living 75, 85, 90, older, at least until you're 90. Then if you started at 50 and you want to stop paying into it at 60, you're going to have to come up with some money. There's no way around that. That's just common sense.
Now, look, I know you got a couple of platforms I want to talk about. And I know everything we've been talking about. I know you have a podcast. I'm Your Agent podcast. Now, is this some of the stuff you cover in this podcast, or
absolutely
what is it that you talk about in this podcast?
Absolutely. Some of the things that we were talking about today are covered in the podcast. We talk about how to maximize your pension if you have one. That can be anything from a defined benefit, which is actually a pension through organization like the school district, or like the police officers, or like the county, or it could be a 401k or plan such as that. Because people consider those as pensions, but they're not really pensions. They're actually supplementals. But neither here nor there. We can tell you how to make that work. We talk about those kinds of things. We're talking about what is a retiree. Who is considered to be someone that is retired or partially retired. We talk about healthcare. We talk about nutrition. We talk about mental aspects. We talk about maximizing your income. We talk about separation of service, how it is that, we talk about COVID. Couple of the shows on there are from people who got caught up in COVID and actually lost their positions, and how they're, taking care of or maintaining their retirement platforms and what they're doing to do that. Our show is all things retirement. Anything that could potentially have to do with retirement, we talk about. We talk about social media. We talk about wills and trusts. And we talk about ancillary documents such as healthcare derivatives and power of attorneys. We talk about all that stuff. Anything that you could need in retirement, that's what the podcast talks about.
Hey, look, retirement strategist, financial advisor. Okay, look, two key things we all need, especially during these times, because we're just very uncertain about the direction that we're going in. Even if you do have the utmost confidence in what it is you're doing, things can change. Yeah. And how do you prepare yourself to change with those times?
Yeah, that's true.
Ms. Jefflyn,
that's what we talk about.
Okay, that's what you meant.
That's what we talk about.
Now, this other event here, I just like the name. I just like it. Okay, so, but let's just talk about this, like, make $1 out of 15 cents,
wow.
learn event.
Well, I'm very excited about that. I'm passionate about it because it's for women, although it helps everybody, but it's for women. It talks about the specific challenges that women face during retirement. We talk about, women making less money and working less because they're expected to do other things within the household or rearing their children. It talks about single women, but it also talks about how even though women are earning less and they're expected to work less, they put so much into the economy. About 2/3 of the economy now is sourced by female businesses. And it also talks about how to take some of that stuff, even though it seems as though it would be a shortfall or it would be to the discredit of women, how to make that a benefit for them. So, we starting out with less. We got the 15 cents, but I'm going to show you how to take that 15 cents and make it that $1 that's going to take you through not only just your retirement, but just some common sense principles on how to live every day with what you're making. One of the things we talk about, and this is just across the board, this helps everybody. People have a premise of, they talk about the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 rule in regards to finance, where you live off of 80% of what you make and you give 20% away, either 10% to your charity, whatever that may be, and 10% to yourself. You pay yourself as far as savings is concerned. Well, my rule is a little bit different. My rule is the 70-30 rule. And it's like, why would you say live off less? And I'm getting ready to tell you, because this is going to be a big piece in retirement as well. 70-30 rule is simple. Yes, you pay 10% to your charity. For me, that's your tithe, because that's what I believe in. You pay 10% to yourself, your savings, not just your emergency fund, but this is your expense, quote unquote, account. This is for that big expense that you want when you get ready to retire, when you want to buy that car that you always wanted for the rest of your life, or when you want to go on that cruise around the world, or when you want to take that shopping spree that you couldn't take while the kids was little and all that other, whatever that thing is, that's what that 10% is for. But that other 10%, that fills up that 30% is for your taxes. Because in retirement, most people don't understand all of the write-offs that they may have had coming along the way. The kids that they could write off, the property that they could write off, all the stuff that they could write off. By the time they get ready to retire, unless they've taken out a second or a third mortgage, that house is paid off. Those kids are out of the house on their own with their own families. They don't have those write-offs anymore. So Uncle Sam is coming knocking. He's coming to the door, and most people are not prepared to pay the additional tax obligation that comes with retirement. Most people aren't. Some people have to take a second part-time job, even though they're not working for a full-time job, but they have to take something else to pay their taxes. And see, we talk about that as well on the podcast, bringing the podcast back around. But we talk about that as well because taking a part-time job or finding something to do in that regard is not only, people do that not just to help supplement income, but they do that for the self-esteem of it, to have the value or the net worth. It's like, no, I'm not going to work every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and 2 hours overtime when they mandate. No, I'm not doing all that. But I will give you 2 hours at Walmart saying, hey, how you doing? Because it makes me feel good. I'll do that. And you can pay me for it. Yeah, I'll do that. So we talk about that. Not just on the podcast, we talk about it in the book, but also we prepare for that when we talk about, like I said, the 70-30 rule. Making sure that Uncle Sam is taken care of, because the worst thing in retirement, outside of not being able to enjoy it because you don't have a reasonable amount of health and strength, the worst thing is having to pay everything you saved your life for to Uncle Sam. That's it. So take care of him. Make sure he's taken care of, because Internal Revenue Service people, they do not play. I was a collection agent for the Internal Revenue Service at one time in my brief career, and I understand. I was the person that was knocking on your door when you didn't conform. So I know how it works. They don't play. They mean what they say.
And they will take it all.
They'll get their money. Don't worry about that. They will do that on purpose. So take care of that. Don't try to beat that part of the system. If you want to beat a part of the system, beat another part. Don't try to beat the tax part. It does not work.
It's the tax man. The tax man coming.
Oh, he's gonna get his. And it's just a basic principle like anything else. Would you rather pay tax? We tell people this all the time when we're talking about saving for retirement and paying for tax obligations and making sure that the tax obligation is right. Would you rather pay tax on the seed, if you were a farmer? Would you rather pay tax on the seed, or would you rather pay tax on the harvest of the seed? Because when you got a handful of seeds, it's a lot smaller than when you got a field full of harvest. So you got to pay tax. You can't get around that. But which would you rather pay the tax on? And most people would want to pay the tax on the seed. So I'm saying now, plant your seed money so you can get that paid for it. Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm just going to say this. I'm probably going to go back and watch this interview at least another 20, 30 times, because there's been so many gems dropped during these times, during the whole time we've been talking. And seriously, if people really want to get in contact with you, if they really, need some perspective about what the next steps are going to be, because as we said before, these are very uncertain times, and a lot of the things that we used to do, we really can't, do that anymore. We got to switch the game up, especially if we're trying to, as you said, man, when it's time to pay, are you going to pay on that harvest, or are you paying on these seeds?
Yeah.
Me, I'm trying to pay on these seeds. Okay.
That's right.
I'm trying to enjoy this harvest. And
that's
man,
that's it. That's exactly
years
it.
and years and years and years to come. And hopefully my child, man, he can enjoy some of this harvest, and he can put in his seeds, pay on his seeds, and make the harvest even more, even more abundant as time goes on. So hopefully, but how can people get in contact with you if they want to get in contact with you? Social media, website, whatever.
Yeah. Couple ways you can get in contact with me. I'm your agent PC at gmail.com. I'm your agent PC at gmail.com, or I'm your agent. That's the website. I'm your agent, the podcast. Anything is I'm your agent. We have the YouTube channel. We have the podcast. We also have the website. So I'm your agent PC at gmail.com, Jefflyn Dangerfield. And that's how you can get in contact with me. One of the best things that you can do before you reach out, or as you're reaching out, go to either Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Target and get a copy of that book. It'll start you right on track. The Retirement Trilogy will start you on your way. It'll give you some insight in regards to what needs to happen. And just reach out. I'm available.
There it is, y'all. The Retirement Trilogy. Amazon, I know y'all got them Prime accounts, okay? I know a good 60% of y'all got the Prime, okay? Because some of y'all live on this block that I'm broadcasting from, and I see the truck every day, and it ain't stopping here. So, look, man, go ahead, leave that review. Man, give it the thumbs up. Also, man, Target, whatever you want to call it. Barnes & Nobles. They used to have the storefront now. They're all digital, I believe, now, right?
Well, here in California, there's still a few walk-ins.
Okay.
There's still a few. Now, they are not as massive as they used to be, but either way you go, you can order online or you can walk in and order from them. But yeah.
The Retirement Trilogy. Jefflyn Dangerfield. Financial advisor, retirement strategist. Okay. This is what she does, people. Okay. I know I'm going to get my copy, because that, and this conversation alone, plus a private conversation we're going to have offline that y'all can't hear, man, don't even worry about all that. Man, look here. I'm getting my knowledge, because, I try to use this platform not as a learning tool for everyone else, but for myself as well, because I like to stay educated on things that, I need to be educated on. So that's that, But before we get out of here now, man, I got to ask you the question that my show's known for, so you got to give me this answer. Mr. Jefflyn Dangerfield.
Yes.
What is the one word that best describes you, and why? I already know my word for you.
Yeah. Well, the one word that I would say best describes me is helpful. I just love to help people. And when I learn, I want to pass what I learned on. I was always taught, that's how you build legacy. That's how you build community. And that's what I'm about. I'm about helping people grow and providing value, because a lot of the information that I've been able to secure over my limited time on this earth has been information that has kind of been held back, and you had to go and try to find it out, because it's sad to say, but some cultures are just not exposed.
That's true.
And other cultures are exposed in different ways. So I've been put in a unique position to be able to sit inside the house as well as outside the house and put it all together, and hopefully to have enough helpfulness, enough information to provide help to somebody else. So that's why. So call me helpful.
My word, I was going to say hero, but I'm going to throw that out, because you are a hero. But
oh, thank you.
Cultivation. Okay. What have we been talking about all this time? You know what I'm saying? Seriously, like, what have we been, man? Like, you really. So I'm gonna break it down. Okay. So to cultivate, gather, make. Positive in this, and you know, pretty much in this instance, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you taking all the knowledge that you've acquired over all the years of all the experience, like as you just said, you've sat inside, you've sat outside. You're taking everything you know and you're packaging it up and you're giving it to the people. You know what I'm saying? So you have cultivated all this knowledge, you know, into this book, The Retirement Trilogy, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Jefflyn Dangerfield, author. There it is. But you've taken all this knowledge and you have, man, you know, laid out a game plan. And if you follow this game plan, you too will have the things that you need, you know, and some of that's going to come with the mindset, some of that's going to come with sacrifice. But in the end, I have cultivated all this knowledge for you and I'm giving it to you, and you too can bear the fruit of the land, you know, that you need to, you know, eat off of for the next however many years. I'm not even going to count. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to say a number, but however many years you choose to eat, you know. Hopefully it's for a long time. Please don't burn out in like a year. Okay. But cultivation, man, because like, look, she family now. I mean, I'm just saying, she family now. So like, she's welcome back to the show anytime. And anytime I have family come through and just bless like me and my audience with the knowledge and the tools that they really truly need to survive. Because seriously, no one's really having this conversation in depth the way they should be having this conversation, because we're all worried about what's to come, or what can I do about this and what can I do about that, and you know, all these other things have our mind, you know, wrapped up. But you know, I mean, I understand, you know, for some who, you know, are panicking, you know, they pretty much want to push the panic button, but there's no need to push the panic button if you already, you know, have the sources and resources and everything you need to cultivate a better lifestyle for yourself going forward.
It's absolutely correct.
There it is. Cultivation. Boom. I told you.
Well,
all right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Woo. And thank you for welcoming me into your family. I'll be back whenever you have me.
Oh, look. Yeah, you coming back. You coming back. Oh, trust that. Trust all you coming back. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. I am on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow, or go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Man, this is the gospel. We have definitely gotten our gospel today, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I don't know if it's a conversation. This has been gospel. Okay. So if you want this gospel plus other great gospel and conversations as well, go to that website, go to my YouTube page, man, like, share, whatever you got to do, comment. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, man, leave me a message telling me you don't like it. Okay. Be nice about it. But I'm just saying, man, look, Jefflyn Dangerfield, thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we out. Peace.
Peace.